All right, we're live. We're live. Yippee hooray. Let's see this here. Copy. This is super weird because I don't have a headset on. So like what's going on here is kind of bizarre, but whatever. Let's prepare for some folks. Let me throw this in. Wow, it actually caught that the Game Basket was live. How interesting is that? Okay. Game Basket's live. I think we have stuff to talk about here. Let's see. Maybe this will be a quick episode. I would love it to be a quick episode here. Okay. Hello, everyone, or everyone that'll be watching, or watching the recording, whichever one you want. Should probably like officially start this, but I will give it a second. I never know if our notifications actually work or if they bug out. Let's see. Okay. I can't. Sometimes I swear I was about to try and copy paste from my phone to our off week episode. How does a guy share nowadays? There it is. Okay. Pop it in Discord. What are we doing? What do I call this? A tier list. We're doing a tier list. That's what we're going to call it. I do need to record, so I'm going to do that. And I need to move this over. I'm going to do start recording and then jump over here. Okay. I never know how to start these things, but... All right, welcome back to another episode of the off season, or whatever we're calling it. No one has a name. This is a solo ep. This is unexpected, but we're running a solo ep, and let me explain what we're doing today. So I have a couple thoughts and things I want to discuss, and then also I just want to run through a tier list of what I think is interesting so far. Some stuff that I found interesting on Facebook that I wanted to discuss. So let's start with this. Very weird to be doing a solo episode. Very strange. Mac and Corey were both unavailable. Tyler and Taylor are kind of in and out. I could ask Gary or someone else like that, but I had a fun idea and I figured might as well go for it. So first off, I wanted to discuss a recent YouTube video. If you saw, Simon and Eagle both posted a video about building a bag for MVP. And everything we're talking about kind of flows into each other a little bit. So I wanted to start there and then kind of move our way over. But Simon and Eagle both make a video about their MVP discs for this year. And I just wanted to compare how different the videos were. And it'll also kind of show the difference between these two players as well, in my opinion. Simon posts his video first, and then Eagle does. But let's talk about them in reverse order. Eagle posts his video, and it's a 33-minute talk through all of the discs I'm going to bag, no cuts, no edits, post on YouTube. And Eagle is an interesting character. I think everyone can agree on that. Here's what Eagle did, right? It would be like if I took a stack of discs, he's like, hey, this is legit. This is not like he might do this. This is what he did in the video. He took a stack of discs. They were brand new. The MVP, brand new white-rimmed reactors. He said, here are reactors. I have all these brand new reactors. Which reactor am I going to bring on tour? He sets all of them aside, literally like a whole stack, like 5 or 6 of them, I think. He sets all of them aside, and then picks up 2 Eclipse reactors that he's had in his bags for the last 2 years. And all of a sudden, he is like, I'm actually going to take these. What? You have a brand new stack of reactors, and you're going to take these 2 reactors. They're Eclipse, they're old runs, and they're covered in Sharpie marks. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's Eagle. He can do what he wants. Then his backup disc is not one of the new reactors. It is a reactor he got when he was in Hawaii. He found it in his buddy's backyard, baking in the sun. That's his backup reactor. What are we doing? Actually, what are we doing? Before we should continue, should I make sure that you can hear me when I'm talking? That would probably be a good idea. Let's see. Oh, sick. Okay, you can. So, I have other people texting me we can't. Anyways, so that's weird, right? That he does that. And then he continues that in the bag. It's a one-man show today, Dad. But we have a tier list. We're going to run a couple other things. So, Eagle continues the in the bag. And all bag long, that's what he does. He's like, okay, here's a motion. Really, this would be a Wrath or a Tesla, but I have this random motion that flies totally different than all motions. I'm going to take this instead. What are we doing, right? He keeps going about this for a 33-minute in the bag. Eagle McMahon. We're talking about Eagle's recent in the bag, and we're going to compare it to Simon's here. Eagle does 33 minutes nonstop, and he's just not even doing new stuff. This is Eagle, right? He has not been on MVP that long, and he has curated a list of the oldest discs they have, and that's what he's using. It's kind of weird. Like, he's not even using any of the new stuff. He's just a guy who likes the old stuff, apparently. So he does that with reactors. He says, I know there are good reactors. They're brand new reactors I have. I'm going to use these old Eclipse reactors and one that was sitting in the Hawaii sun baking in a random guy's backyard that I met and am now friends with. And he said, that's what we're going to do. So, once again, really weird. I'm like, why is this the way we're doing this? We keep going. He does the same thing with emotion. And it just shows the difference between Eagle and who we're about to talk about, Simon, here. So he does the same thing with emotion. Now let's compare this to Simon's in the bag. What Simon does is he goes to 2 pro shops, digs through the discs in the pro shops, and tries to buy just discs off the shelf for his bag. It's Simon Lizotte, right? His reasoning is, if I want to make sure I get good discs, I can't just ask MVP for discs. I need to actually feel them. It's Simon Lizotte. MVP would have sent him as many of whatever as he wanted, pretty much, right? It doesn't matter. That's what they would have done. But instead, he posts a video where he's going to 2 local shops buying MVP discs. And what's he doing? He goes, oh, I know I have like special run reactor or balances. I know I have first run balances. I know I have all this other stuff. I want stock balances. You're like, okay, cool. And then he goes, and I want stock Bocas, and I want stock Fireballs, and I want stock whatever. Guys, Simon is not an idiot. This is intentional. He is trying to see stock stuff, have stock stuff in his bag, so people can like see that, and they can say, oh, Simon just throws a stock balance. That's cool, right? Simon throws a stock Fireball. That's cool. Same with a bunch of other stuff. I think it just shows, it so clearly highlights the difference between these 2 guys, right? Both, Simon's a little bit more winning than Eagle, but both are similar levels of winning, I guess I would say. It's probably not accurate, but Simon's deal is worth way more than Eagle's, and Simon's deal is worth like, is way longer. And I think you see why, right? In just this video, you can see the way that Simon cares about MVP. He cares that good stuff is going on the shelves. He cares that anyone can get access to this stuff. And he wants to care about local shops too. That's a nice little thing. He spent like $600 at local shops. And then it doesn't. It definitely helps that he just throws Bokas at the end of the video and just goes, "I'm gonna throw like 8 Bokas at Maple Hill," or maybe in the middle of the video. I think that's like such a good indicator. Gary, it's just me. We're about to do a tier list here, but I wanted to start talking about that. That's such a good indicator of what matters to companies and how different you can react. Everything you're doing in the media world, like, builds up to one player, or builds up to you as a player. And so Eagle is going to build up a guy who only throws randomly weird runs of reactors, motions, all this stuff. And Simon's going to be known as literally all of his bag is stock. There's a value to that I don't think we can like offset. It was just an interesting piece. I was just watching Gary fist fight Hunter. Gary, I was going to ask you, but I kind of have a fun little thing here, and I just was like, we're going to rip it. We didn't even know if we were doing an episode. So anyways, that's Simon and Eagle. I just wanted to discuss that. It was an interesting to compare their in the bags. I was talking about with some buddies. Let's get to the real meat and potatoes of this episode. What we're going to do in this episode is I wanted to talk about, let me change here, on Facebook. So I'm on Facebook. I'm scrolling through some stuff, and I think it's Disc Golf Fanatic. Disc Golf Fanatic says, guys, stop talking about COVID disc golf. It's been like 4 years. Or maybe he was reposting something of someone else. Stop talking about COVID disc golf. It's been 4 years. Let's move on. And that was super interesting to me. And it actually made me want to talk about COVID disc golf. And so here's what I have. I have a bunch of brands here, not a ton, but a bunch of brands here that I think either did really well because of COVID disc golf or did really bad. And I want to talk through them, see if you guys agree, and if you have other brands you think of. Okay, let me show you how this is going to work. If it's S tier, they did the best they could have done during COVID. If it's F tier, it means they did nothing of any value during COVID, or they didn't take advantage of COVID. Let's start with MVP. It's going straight at the top. MVP, there's another manufacturer on this company that is going to be up there as well. MVP might have done the best they could do during COVID. And they might have had one of the better transitions out of COVID as well. So MVP signs Simon around that time, kind of more luckily than anything, but like they sign him and then their stuff's starting to blow up and stuff's been blowing up a little bit, but they kind of can take advantage of that. But then they don't just sign a million other players for millions of dollars or potentially millions of dollars total. They keep Simon. They slowly build up with other people like Eagle later in the future. But Simon is their guy. They just pour everything into one guy that can 100% make them money. And I think everyone here can agree MVP is now one of the leading manufacturers for COVID disc golf, in my opinion at least. So MVP goes to the top there. They did the best job going into COVID or in COVID, and they did a better job coming out of COVID, kind of cruising out of COVID. And they really didn't, like, they're still building. Even out of COVID, they're still building. Okay, let's see. Prodigy Discs. Oh, Prodigy Disc is going to get a hard E, for me at least. Obviously, Gannon Burst stuff happens like through COVID, and Prodigy it's not a good look for Prodigy in the slightest. And then you've got bad flashing, you've got chalky discs, you got all this stuff that just builds up this reputation of Prodigy being bad through what is the biggest spike in our sport ever, during COVID, right? Everyone else took advantage, and Prodigy had bad discs at the time. I think they get a little bit of redemption. I think they're starting to redeem because Prodigy, the transition to Will Shoestrick was a good move. So Prodigy transitioned to Will Shoestrick and then slowly making new good releases, I think is actually like starting to cement them back. But for how they handled COVID disc golf, they just didn't handle it, right? They had bad discs. They took what was up and coming, one of the best players, what seems like of all time, and sued him for having bad, and he was fighting because of having bad discs. So Prodigy like E, right? This is a tier list of how did you react to COVID and how are you like including the up and the down. Okay, let's go. I don't want to go to Discmania yet because I haven't actually decided on Discmania. I have a pretty mid view of Discmania. Let's do Gateway. Gateway is C. C tier, in my opinion, is I don't really know what you did during COVID. That's what it was. Like, so Gateway discs, what did they do during COVID? I don't know. They sold discs, but they did the same thing that Gateway always does. Gateway has had underrated, or we've been saying Gateway has an underrated plastic for years and years and years, and no one is like, they're still Gateway. Everyone knows who they are. A couple random people throw them. Who really throws Gateway discs? Made Wizards. They made a lot of Wizards. Who throws Gateway discs? Guys on Gateway's team. And other companies that like want to get into manufacturing reach out to Gateway and say, hey, I want to make my own disc, but I don't want to do my manufacturing. Exactly. They're meh. They're C tier. They didn't really do anything during COVID. They're doing the same stuff now. There's people at Gateway I like. Kevin Faudroy, he was a nice guy when I met him. He seems super chill. Nice guy. I like Gateway's discs, but like even as a guy pretty deep in the sport, I just don't care about Gateway that much. And I don't think they did much through COVID. Here is an interesting one. Did I mess it up, Gary? I'm pretty sure I messed it up. Infinite discs. As someone in the disc golf world a little bit more than your typical player, I know some contract information about Infinite discs. I know some contract information about their players. And I know what their players got during COVID. I cannot say that. I almost want to make, you know what I want to do? That was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go F is down. I want to add a row below. And I want to say, this is kind of some good. I don't even know if this is going to go here yet. Some good, some bad. Infinite discs made a lot of good moves and a lot of bad moves in the offseason. I think in general, especially with things like they were one of the first to really jump on Whatnot, they've gone positive in the end. So I actually don't even think I can put them in some good, some bad. Infinite Discs put a lot of players on their team and gave them a lot of good deals that literally would have been better if you gave them half the deal and put the other half in a stock market. You would have made more value doing that, in my opinion. But Infinite Discs also did stuff like take chances with people like Bedanza, and like really signing a player signing a player to a big contract exclusively for their content, right? Bedanza at the time he signed on Infinite was trying to be pro, but that was never his like full on thing. He was a good player who was making a lot of videos. So Infinite, like, that was a really good move during COVID. Being in COVID gave them the flexibility to do something like that. They also made some dumb moves. Like I said, there was definitely some players they paid / are paying that are making more money than they need to. I'm going to put them in a B tier. Their highs are incredibly high and their lows are super low. Okay. Innova. I'm going to say this right now. I don't think we need much here. Innova is C tier, just like Gateway. They did not really do anything like crazy during COVID, right? They're still in Dick's Sporting Goods. They're still the most known brand on planet Earth. They didn't do any. C is middle of the road, to be clear when I say this. This is just how a system like this does. They didn't do anything crazy. They didn't do anything terrible. They kind of just did business as usual and made more money for a chunk of time. I think, like, if you look at Innova, they have not done anything glaringly good or bad. I think they're a little slow to hop on contracts sometimes. From people who've done contracts with them, it sounds like they're a little slow to be interested in contracts. So I'm putting them in C tier. I don't think they did anything exceptional. They were at the time one of the biggest Yeah, I think that would be a good one. Gary says A tier during COVID, D tier since then. At the time, they were one of the biggest manufacturers, especially during COVID, because they had discs, they had product. All these other guys are still building up, and Innova has product and they can take advantage. But it's not like they started marketing better, right? The sport exploded, and so by extension, Innova exploded. But that's it. There's nothing else really, in my opinion, to note there. Okay, these are all gonna get looped together. Discmania, Casta, Lat, Westside, Dynamic, all of these are going to get looped together. I think they have varying levels of success here. Let's start with Discmania. I do like Discmania stuff. I play with Discmania stuff. I putt with Rainmakers right now. I think they did a D in the offseason. I think that the public opinion of Discmania has slowly gone down since the COVID time, and it's just continuing to go down. And until something else happens, it's just going to keep creeping down. You have fun players on your team. You have Alden Harris. You have Gavin Babcock. Obviously, you have the best player in the world, Gannon Buhr, on your team. I don't think that matters as much in today's spending as we think. But that's just my note, is they did some good stuff, but overall they kind of just meh. Dynamic. Let's throw Dynamic on there. I'm putting Dynamic at an E. Here's what Dynamic did. I'm going 2020 to current, Gary. I'm a little loose lip with it here. I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but 2020 to current. So how they handled that, what happened, and did they spike down? Did they appropriately use this like influx of cash? Dynamic signed some people to some really big contracts that didn't end up well for them as they were cruising into COVID. Dynamic is barely talked about now. I feel bad for Dynamic. I feel bad for Bobby. If you know who Bobby is, he leaves Dynamic, does some other stuff, kind of goes out of disc golf for a while, comes back to disc golf, and essentially is like being asked to revive this fallen brand. I think that's a pretty tough ask. You're coming back to a company that's like almost totally different than when you left, and no way. I give your argument for no way Innova gets to give above Discmania. I'm down. This is an adjusting list, but Dynamic, I just don't think they've done anything. I think Bobby is a likable name, but he's like being asked to do the impossible, is to rebuild or make this company popular again. There were some earning reports that came out that said some weird crap as well. It looks like they're not doing well, but I don't know. Let's do Casta. And for Casta, they could be a D or they could be an E. They might be the top of E or the bottom of D. Casta was known for really good plastic, really fun molds. All this stuff was known for Casta. And then, just like Discmania, just like all this other stuff, they joined House of Discs. And now you kind of know they're being manufactured by the same place. And then the plastic kind of isn't as good anymore. And we're just like watching the fall off of Castaplast. There will be molds that just don't leave. The Berg and the Berg X are probably going to be around forever. Berg is really good. Berg is a fun disc. The rest of their stuff, it's tough, right? They had a moment. They've got Joey Buckets. He's playing well. They have some other people like Braden Sides. He's playing well, or not even playing well, but he's playing well. He's doing content. They're starting to build. But I think House of Discs kind of messes them up. It really does. The reason is, or in my opinion, like there was a really defining moment where they came out with a bunch of plastics with the halo effect on them that Dynamic does and that Lat does. And you were like, oh, these are all the same. There was no like, maybe there's a special plastic blend that only Castaplast gets. You got that and you were like, this isn't the same thing. We're not in the same area. And I felt more recent Castaplast discs that do feel good, but they don't feel exceptional by any means. So I feel bad for Casta. I think they had a niche fan base that could have built up and really specifically good molds. The Loots people really, really like. My buddy throws it. I believe Gary throws it as well. The Berg, obviously. Now the Berg X, which I think is a fun addition. The Rico's pretty good as well. Those feel nice. But I think they kind of just got cooked there. Okay. Let's move on to Discraft. No, a little bit funky to jump around here. Discraft may have done, and this would be an argument for you guys. Did Discraft do 2020 to now better than MVP did? Okay. Here's my thought. Discraft had a lot of people signed, or had a decent amount of people signed, and it just worked out well into the year, into COVID and after COVID, that they signed the right people and they built up really fast, but they were also slow enough with some stuff that, it doesn't feel as crazy. Discraft right now, all their drops sell out, whether that means they're only making 300 discs or whether that means all their drops are selling out. All their drops sell out. They also popped like a really good move with redoing their Tour Series plastic this year specifically, in my opinion. But they've also, you've seen it a little bit. Dropping Corey Ellis, dropping Presnell down one rank, dropping a couple of these people down. It's obvious that, they do have to make some adjustments as we get through the COVID money and we're officially done with the COVID money. But in my opinion, Discraft is still doing well and one of, the big two right now. Like I said, I don't know that Discraft did a better job than MVP, but MVP built a lot of stuff just around Simon, and then have expanded, far beyond that. And Discraft had a lot of players that built up stuff, so you kind of vary between those. Okay, that's my opinion. I think. Next, I'm gonna go for Trash Panda. Trash Panda is an A. Trash Panda did well during COVID, and they're doing well now. Whether that was because they were business intelligent or because of the nature of their business, I'm not sure. Let me explain. If I am a disc manufacturer and I start selling during COVID, and I make 10,000 T-Birds, and then we keep going, and I make 10,000 T-Birds in 2025, and they don't sell, but in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, they did sell. Now I have 5,000 T-Birds. And what the heck am I supposed to do with 5,000 T-Birds? I might get rid of them eventually. If it's actually a T-Bird, I will get rid of them eventually. But I might get rid of the T-Birds eventually. It's going to take longer. If I am Trash Panda and I kind of bank on recycled plastic, which means I kind of bank on generally smaller runs, and I built up my YouTube, I'm never going to have a ton of stock on hand, which is good for me, right? I can be flexible and jump around places. So whether Trash Panda made a correct move and just the amount of discs they made worked well, or Trash Panda just got lucky because that's how recycled plastic works, I don't know. But I would say they have hardcore cemented themselves as a smaller brand, with a specific reason you're purchasing it, right? You're purchasing it because it's recycled discs and their discs are good. It would be the same as going to an upscale restaurant because it's an upscale restaurant and not McDonald's. You're going to Trash Panda because their stuff's recycled. You like Jesse. You like the other people that work with them, and those reasons. So I think Trash Panda is good. They're cemented in place here. Okay, on to the next. Clash discs. Clash discs, I put it on here just to talk about because Clash discs might be the saddest of this whole thing. Disc Golf World made a video about Clash recently. I'm kind of doubling up here. Clash, from my understanding at least, Clash worked and was only created because they needed discs in an area. So they didn't have discs in this area. There was other injection molding happening. Clash starts making discs to fill that. And what Clash gets is almost a Castoplast effect while Castoplast is falling. You get discs that are really fun in a naming convention. They're bright. They're good plastic. Their molds feel good for the most part, other than the Pepper and some other ones, but whatever. And the plastic is just outstanding, right? It is a step above everything else in the industry, in my opinion, at that time. To double that up, you get like steady ring plastic and steady ring plastic is the big one I'm thinking of. That's like a unique effect. And then Clash just kind of falls down over time. I noticed this a while ago. My buddy used to be a big Clash guy, and he's like, I'm just finding it harder and harder to get Clash discs. I can't get them. I can't find extras. I was throwing the soda at one time, and I really liked the specific kind of soda. I lost it, and like there just wasn't sodas like that. I could not find that plastic of soda. And so they fell down, and they fell down, and they fell down, and you knew something was going on. They're not really posting. There's not more runs of discs coming out. It's harder to find Clash discs. And then the Disc Golf World video comes out, and it kind of becomes a little bit more obvious that like it sounds like something else is going on for Clash. So Clash kind of breaks my heart. I loved Clash. I would have been like, I was just discovering Clash as they're kind of falling off. Right, the one disc that I loved, the soda, like I said, was good, but because I couldn't find a backup I liked of that, I was kind of getting frustrated. I was like, do I even want to find a backup of... Do I even want to start doing more stuff with Clash? Do I want to start buying more Clash? I don't even know where to put these. Put Clash. I'm going to make their own category. I like what Aaron said. I'm going to say sad. Clash discs goes in the sad category. It really stinks. It does. Let's move on here. Let's do Lat. Latitude 64. See, Dad, I have sources that say Clash, or the Disc Golf World said Clash treated pros right, even when pros did dumb stuff like Nico. But maybe I'm incorrect in that. I don't know. Maybe I know who your sources are probably. Could be some interesting stuff going on there. Latitude 64. Let's imagine you're Latitude 64. You're one of the first companies to hire a guy outside of disc golf to do disc golf stuff. Jonathan from Clash is like a great hire. It's one of the best hires like in the sport. It's not a guy who knows anything about disc golf. Instead of that being a disadvantage, he uses it as an advantage. Because he doesn't know anything about disc golf, he just like learns and makes videos. So you have now this like YouTube following. Then you get the number one player in the world, Kristen Tatar, now Kristen Lat, and she's playing well. And then this thing called House of Discs happens. And this is like the same thing happening with each of these. House of Discs breaks any illusion that your stuff is different than anyone else under House of Discs. At this point, you are buying Lat stuff because it's stamped Lat stuff and not Discmania stamped, or not Westside stamped, or not Casta stamped, or not Dynamic stamped, especially. So I personally think that the whole House of Discs thing is not elite. I think Lat falls in that same category of D. I could see a C tier for Lat, but I'm going to go D. It really stinks for them. Next up, Westside Discs. Where do you think we're going to go? Westside Discs has a really interesting thing, right? Because they have Matty O, and that might be one of the better signings you can make in that scenario, right? Actually, when did they even sign Matty O? I can't remember which year. Let me see. Okay. 2021, like perfect timing to sign Matteo. You have this player that like has a cult following. You have some fun names for discs, and you do some really fun promotions. To this day, Colin, I don't remember his last name. He's a young, like up and coming pro who's on Westside currently. He made with whoever else some really fun videos working through all of Clash's lineup. Or sorry, not all of Clash's, all of Westside's lineup. They're some of the better videos on YouTube. If you haven't checked them out, you need to check them out. They're really good. You sign Matteo at a good time, your brand starts to pop up a little bit, right? I know Westside at one point was other people were making their stuff. Then they moved into, the whole House of Discs stuff, making their stuff. You're still stuck with the same House of Discs thing. It is really tough. And we'll talk about this in a second, but it's really tough for any of these guys to break the mold. There's a couple different reasons for that. Okay, finally, DGA Disc Golf. DGA Disc Golf, if you don't know, I kind of went funky on this tier list, right? Because I technically put Innova and Infinite, even though Infinite makes discs through Innova, just because I think they did other stuff unique. DGA has their stuff made through Discraft. DGA, I think, did well this offseason, or this whole chunk of time. Mike, you should have been here for the logic. I think I have solid logic for why. To be clear, this is everything from COVID to now. What Discmania has done, what Westside has done, what Lat has done, what Cat, all these brands. What have they done, and where has that put them? How did they handle it? Yeah, the company that made them didn't do anything. Mike says Infinite above the company that makes them. Innova did nothing for COVID. They sold more discs in more Dick's Sporting Goods and did not do anything significant. Infinite signed Bedanza. They signed a lot of other people. They extended beyond Innova, and they did a lot of good, in my opinion. DGA, exact same plastic as Discraft. They had their own blends, kind of, but even nowadays, I really feel like they're kind of cementing themselves as we just have Innova's or Discraft's blends. DGA had a lot of good people that they signed and got some stuff out of. Cole Redolin, they got some great stuff out of. They have some smaller players, Andrew Morweed, smaller players that are like kind of people just like them. Andrew Miranda, people like that. They did a lot of good, and they're continuing to do a lot of good, right? They signed Jaden Rye, and Jaden Rye, in my opinion, is another up-and-comer. They've got Sully, right? Another great example. A pro that really has a really high ceiling, in my opinion. They signed a lot of good people. They cemented their names with popular discs. The Quake, the Pipeline, some of the Steady stuff, Steady BL. They did a lot of those. They have Jake Mon on the team. They had Ryan, if I'm not crazy. They did good stuff. I don't love an A or a B. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm going to just really quickly put them there, okay? I think they did better than nothing, and if they did not, actively get hurt in the offseason. Or in this chunk of time. I keep saying the offseason. Okay. Full list. Let's run through them. People that handled COVID to now the best. MVP and Discraft. I think I like that order. That makes sense to me a lot. They did really well. They're doing really well. The two faces of our brand that were once, in my opinion, Innova and Dynamic are now MVP and Discraft. Next, Trash Panda. Trash Panda signed some fun people, made some good products, did not get stuck with a bunch of crap because they're recycled and they were doing smaller batches. They are very cemented as the smaller company that you go to if you like them. Scott in our Discord, who I have not seen in a while, big Trash Panda guy. He likes that it's recycled. That's an appeal. This is through the COVID boom and now, right? We got people asking in chat. B tier, Infinite Discs. They did a lot of good. They were the first person to really hire a content or do a content signing in Bonanza, and from my understanding, they were rewarded positively for that. But they also had some weird people really high up on their teams that weren't really doing anything for them. DGA, it's just a smaller company, so I kind of have to like scale them. But they're doing fine, right? I think they did a positive thing in the offseason or through this chunk of time. C, Gateway and Innova, what did you guys do? You kind of did the normal stuff. Gateway is still funky and weird and can't really get popular appeal. And Innova just continued to sell a bunch of discs, but didn't really change contracts. So they probably made a good chunk of money, but they didn't like build anything up with that. All right. D, Discmania, Latitude, Westside. All of these people, as we said, House of Discs has not been good for them. I don't think. You lost some of the charm. You are really just paying for 3 different companies stamped with the same stuff. I think this makes sense. Hey, look, here it is. Discmania built the same lineup they had. Mike's saying Discmania literally built their entire lineup during COVID. Buddy, the P2s existed for years. They just rebuilt it. The DD3. The FD. The FD1. The molds don't matter. You're trying to build the same thing, right? You're literally trying to copy the old molds. If they'd done better jobs, right? Maybe, but I even like Discmania more than the average person, probably. I talk to the average person. They don't like Discmania that much. Latitude 64, same deal. When you know they bought, or when you know every single company is House of Discs, and you're really just paying for a different stamp on a similar disc, it takes some of the appeal away. I know that is unfortunate. I would love for some of these companies to... But see, C tier is dead middle. Discmania and I don't think can be C tier. When C tier is literally they did nothing in the offseason. That's not true. They might have done stuff in the offseason, but at the end of the day, by now, or in this whole chunk, I keep saying the offseason, by now, they're not as well known of a company. They're not as liked of a company. That's true for both of them. And I understand Discmania, I don't even know what you do, to be honest with you. Right? They have the best player in the world. How are they not a bigger lineup? Are they not doing enough with them? I don't know. Discmania and Lat, Westside, all in D. They kind of got cooked by House of Discs. I think if they were their own unique thing, each of them, and you didn't know they were all House of Discs, there'd be something there. I don't know. Westside is one that is unfortunate, right? They kind of got in this whole thing at a bad time, in my opinion. They had a fun following. They had some fun discs. But once again, right, at this point, you can buy a Compass, an MD1, and a Tursus, or I don't even know what it is in the Westside lineup, and know you're literally getting the same plastic and a slightly different feeling dead straight mid-range. Do with that information like what you will, but that kind of stinks for them. E, Casta. Once again, this is because it's kind of depressing. Kind of sucks for them, right? They had a cult following for sure. 100% they had a cult following. They were known for premium plastic. Now nothing. Sorry, guys. I don't know. I really, that's tough. Prodigy sued an up-and-coming player that is now the #1 player in the world. Had really crappy plastic. Bad look by everyone's parts. I think they're improving from now, but they literally would have been an F if not for what Will is doing. And Dynamic, the only sad part about Dynamic is Bobby coming back and having to, like, they're literally expecting him to, like, Messiah reside, bring the brand back. He's not going to be able to do that. It's going to be really tough. Finally, sad is just Clash. Just sucks for Clash. Really sorry. We have Mike glazing Discmania for when I bring up valid points here. Just because you had to do something tough doesn't mean you did something well. That's my call out here. Okay. Next on the list, fellas. Tyler wanted me to do this. If you're watching and you're not part of our Discord, please join our Discord. That's the best place to, like, talk to us more about disc golf stuff. We are doing a snake draft, which is going to be a tag league. It's going to be very fun, but we need to submit molds for this. So we're going to run through some molds that I'm going to submit, and we're going to see where we go from here. Off the bat, I want to go Focus. Focus is fun. I know some... I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do Cicada. I don't even bag the Cicada anymore. Doesn't even help me. Mold 3, I'm sure that... good, Gary. You better not tell me. I'm sure that Mike put some of these in here already. Some Discmania stuff. But I do want to include some Discmania stuff. I want to do the Mutant. I know that's a nice overstable mid. That would be fun to have in there. Mold 4. I know that I supplied half our Discord with these, so I'm going to throw a Bokeh in the mix. Half our Discord has them because of me, so take them. We'll put a Bokeh in the mix. Let's keep going here. Really good lately is the M5 from Prodigy. Such a good hyzer flip to flat mid. Like for me at least, it's a slight flip up to flat mid. I'm kind of doing stuff in my bag. I'm also not doing stuff. I literally just like spent a week and a half destroying my bag and rebuilding it. I actually might do a bag in the bag at the end of this because I have my bag next to me. Okay, mold 6. We need to get some distance drivers in here, in my opinion. I want to do some fun stuff. I want to do the general from Dynamic. I know I just spent like 40 minutes discussing how Dynamic's kind of chopped, but the general's fun. Yeah, I had a thought, Gary. Like, Tyler has a system to sort out the duplicates in here. What do you do when, really, at the end of the day, we each only submitted 10 discs? Because 10 were dupes across, like, 8 people. That's a lot. I don't know. The general from Dynamic. I spent time crapping on Dynamic, but I do actually... The general seems like a good disc. Broad has been glazing it like crazy, so I want to throw it in. Let's throw in another disc from Latitude 64. Let's throw in the Explorer. I'm trying to get diverse here, by the way. Once again, I just spent like 30 minutes describing where I rate each company. People are pressed, but let's throw an Explorer in there. We need more putters. That's for sure. I threw a Focus. I'm not going to throw a Marvel in there. That's not very fun. Let's throw a PA3. No, this chart already auto removes duplicates. So he would alert us if it was dangerously low. PA3 is fun. I also want to do a Good Boy from Prodigy. Another interesting one. I'm kind of picking a lot of beaded putters, but whatever. Let's go back to the approach game. Let's do the Toro. Let's throw that in there. I personally throw the Toro. We cannot use our own putters. You have to draft a putter. That's important. I personally throw the Toro, but that's fun. I'm going to throw this in here because also I supplied half the Discord with these. Sleds. A sled is, first off, the sled's an amazing disc. If you guys haven't done the sled, it's awesome. You should definitely throw it. I have to throw a Luna in there. I'm going to be honest, guys. I might be a Luna only guy. I think I threw, we went to a local course today, me and a couple buddies, and we kind of played it as a practice round for a tournament we have like next week. And so we just throw a lot of discs to like figure them out. Sorry, Gary. You can use your putters if you draft it, but you have to draft it, right? So I can pick my own putter, but I have to get it in the draft. And I threw like 10 shots. I literally threw 2 Lunas on every hole, and every time they were good. I can't. I need to have a chance of getting a Luna in there. But I just told you all, so now you can fight me for it. I know. Let's see. Let's go back to distance drivers. Let's get a flippy distance driver. And let's go with the MVP Wave. I personally don't throw the Wave, but that's cool. I also want to do... I actually really like the DD2 from Prodigy. From Prodigy. Frick me. From Discmania. The DD2, which is the old Enigma mold. I have one. It kind of flies awesome. One meme disc. Yes, of course. We're going to throw the Stingray in there. And my buddy was throwing the Stingray today. It's not 100% a meme disc, but it's a little bit of a meme disc. We're going to Stingray it up. Okay. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, who have I not given love to? We have Siblat. We have some Prodigy. I'm kind of a Prodigy fiend nowadays, by the way. Don't know if it's clear. I have Discraft. I have a little bit of MVP. I don't really don't throw MVP like at all. I just started throwing an Insanity, and it's flying really well. But I don't really throw MVP. I'm just not a fan of it. The Stingray is awesome. I don't know. I just don't get along with a lot of MVP stuff other than like hexes and no Doomsday. I don't know Doomsday's lineup good enough, and I'm gonna guess that multiple other people in our Discord put a good chunk of Doomsday in the list. So I'm gonna let Doomsday sit because I bet you that multiple people put a good chunk of it in the list. We're gonna keep going here. Cigaras are in there. Marvels are in there. Let's do some Infinite. That's actually a good idea. Let's do some Infinite. Let's do oh my gosh, I was having a brain fart. Scepter. Let's throw a Scepter in there. Good overstable 9 speed. We always need some of those. Let's also throw a PD in there. A PD or a PD style disc is just so good. It's like the best of the world. All right. Mold 18. 3 left. I think I'm gonna go. I know people probably went this, but I'm gonna throw it in. A Zone SS is so fun. Oh my gosh. And then 2 more. I feel like I've had a decent diversity. I definitely did not throw a bunch of distance drivers in there. I don't really throw distance drivers, guys. That's just not what I do. There's like no reason for me to throw distance drivers. So I have a bad time relaying distance drivers. Let's throw a Thrasher in there. Someone will have fun with the Thrasher. Tyler will have so much fun with the Thrasher. And finally, my last mold. What do I want to throw in there? What's in my bag that's funky and would be fun to get other people to try? No, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a method in there. The amount of Discmania pros that are throwing methods is so interesting when you have MD1s and stuff like that. All right, we submitted. It is nice and done. I'm going to... How do I save or download this? Download image. Okay, beautiful. Let's swap over. I'm going to send that image and get people getting mad at me again. But whatever. Okay, let's talk about 2 things. And I'm kind of debating on what to talk about. Let's talk about tournaments. Here's why tournaments suck. I am pumped for this draft too, Gary. I'm having this is a fun time for the draft. Here's why tournaments suck. Let me run you through this, okay? I kind of had this thought, and some recent videos from people had me thinking about this even farther. Okay, tournaments suck for this reason. Imagine you are excited for a tournament, and you are preparing for a tournament, and you're a pretty low level player, but whatever. You're preparing for a tournament. You're putting. You're doing some field work. Yada yada yada. Time comes for the tournament. You wake up at like 6 a.m. because you got to drive to the tournament, whatever. Maybe it's at a course you really like, or maybe it's just not local, and you get ready, you go, you drive to the tournament. It's 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. and your tee time starts. You go and you play round 1, and you're trying to be competitive. That's the goal, is can I be competitive in this tournament? But you haven't really played competitive sports beforehand. The most competitive you've ever been is like playing beach volleyball with friends. And so you get to this tournament and you play round 1, and you have just a super big disparity on your card. You got a guy who has like all brand new stuff, and he's terrible. He's legitimately awful at the game. You know kids that would beat him. And so you have to watch him struggle through. And you can't be competitive with this guy, right? And then you have a guy who is trying to shoot a course record. And that guy did not shoot a course record. He's 3 holes in, and it is clear that he's not going to shoot a course record. You're not competitive with that guy either, right? He had a couple bad breaks. His mental is just chopped. It's gone. And so he stinks. He's bad to play with. You can't be competitive with him. The other guy on your card, the last guy on your card, you actually could be relatively competitive with. But the issue is like you don't really know him, and you can't tell if he's happy or upset about stuff that's happening to him, or like what his real skill level is. And so you're playing with these guys, right? You got the guy who's mad that he's not shooting a course record, right? You have the guy who can't play at all, and then you've got this guy who's kind of in between, and he's throwing some weird stuff, right? You're playing a really smart game. You're trying to play a smart game, right? You're throwing lunas. I'm using lunas, but putters, mids, fairways. You're right when you're doing it on the hole appropriately. And this guy is whipping out a destroyer on every single hole through the woods, throwing these stupid anti-flexes that like kind of end up giving him putts sometimes, right? So he either double bogeys a hole or he like birdies a hole. But the issue is he's getting a couple good breaks, and it's a lot of birdies. It's more birdies than you expect. So you're like, what the heck is going on here? But you know it's going to end up, right? Over time, this is a dumb play. It's not going to work out well. Okay? So you get done with round one, and you're not really frustrated because you can't really compete, right? This is not a competition. You're playing with people that are either doing weird crap or like not really taking it seriously, or just happy to pay $50 and play 2 sanctioned rounds and get 2 discs out of it. But who knows, how happy or upset they are. So you're playing with these people. You get done with round 1, and you think, and you shoot a decent round. You're like somewhere in either the very bottom of card 1 or you're in card 2, depending on how ties are lining up. You're waiting for a couple cards to finish up. So you're thinking, shoot, that was weird. Couldn't really be competitive. That was my only goal. Not even to win, just to be competitive. Couldn't really be competitive with any of these guys. And you go, that's so weird, right? I can be competitive in beach volleyball with people of such a variety of skill levels, but you can't be competitive with these random guys. It just doesn't work because it's not a team sport, right? You go, you eat lunch, you come back, you're ready for round 2. You check your PDGA. You're on card 5. There's 8 cards in your division. You're on card 5. What? You're tied for 4th. You check you're tied for 4th with one other guy, and there's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Why are you on card 5? Right? Based on PDGA number, it looks like it's probably that guy who should be up on the first card, but you should at least be on card 2. And so you're like, this kind of sinks. I'm not competing with who I'm actually competing with now. I don't even know who I'm with, really. I'm with a bunch of people on card 5, right? And why are people on card 5? I don't even understand this. You show up to card 5, and bad news. Here's who's on card 5. You've got another guy who actually throws the wobbliest forehands you've ever seen in your whole life. And he has just shot the round of his life to get on card 5 with you. And you're like, uh-oh. And this guy's Todd. Todd has shot the round of his life to get on card 5 with you, okay? And then the other guy on card 5 is Jacob. And Jacob, it seems like Jacob's maybe got some other stuff going on, not relating to disc golf. Jacob maybe isn't doing so well at home. And all he wanted to do was come out and play disc golf competitively and compete with people. And Jacob threw a stinker. Jacob typically is around the skill level it should be playing in your division. And now that stinker is so bad that Jacob cannot possibly come back. His mentality is shot, right? So you got Todd, who just threw the round of his life. Jacob, who threw the worst round of his life. Yourself, right? And you also have a 4th because it's a pretty busy C tier, whatever. This 4th guy is just kind of whatever. He's maybe the closest competition, but even that's like maybe not true. It really does not feel like you guys are the same thing. He's an older guy. He's kind of throwing these weird standstills, and he's flexing his disc in half before he throws it. He's literally flexing the disc in his hand before he throws it. And like bending it, half bending it, like taking it and just going, like this. And you're like, what the freak? What is going on? What are you doing? What's going on here? Why am I on this card? But whatever. You kind of now have to check scores to see if you're competing. But once again, you can't turn on that competitive drive. You're not competing with any of these guys on the card. You're competing with a random scorecard card you're looking at on PDGA. This isn't a competition. You can't turn on the competition. You can't watch someone execute a shot and know you have to replicate it. So you just play the round. Play some good, play some bad. Actually, play okay, but it's not going to win. But you never really had to push to win it. It's tough to do. Half the course didn't have service, so it's like impossible to even see where the first two people are at. You're playing through the round and you're like, okay, I kind of need to par this hole, but then Jacob is on his like 8th bad drive of the day, and he throws a shot and he cusses himself out, and you and your card mates kind of awkwardly look at each other like, what the heck is going on? This is weird, right? And then Todd is, he's had the round of his life. He might have got a little high between rounds, so he's high as a kite. To be frank, he's giggling at everything. He's giggling at Jacob's bad shots. So you have no idea what to do there. And every time it's really obvious that like this is Jacob's one thing that he's trying to do, and it's not going well, right? And you finish the tournament. You could keep talking about what happens in this round for ages, but you finish the tournament. You tie for or you make a solo 4th, we'll say, sure, and you drive home. What about that was a positive experience? You got 2 discs. You got a sanctioned round. You had to get up at the butt crack of dawn. What about that screamed competition? Nothing to me, right? I'm more competitive with a random round with my friends. And more importantly, if my friends are better, I'm trying to rise to that occasion. Here's what I think about disc golf tournaments. The whole discussion of the night is about how we came from COVID and now we're here. What has changed? Disc golf tournaments used to be you paid $50 to get a disc or 2. All of the spots filled up instantly. You were lucky to get in the tournament. You were happy to go, and there was just crazy stuff going on. There's a lot of people, whatever. Nowadays, you pay $50 or whatever for a similar amount of discs, but now discs are easy to get anywhere, right? Facebook Marketplace has all these discs for cheaper, less than $50. PDGA rating's cool, but you don't really care about it that much, right? You're chasing your high on rating, but whatever. These people you're playing with are fine, but it would be better to be playing with your friends. I legitimately think that this is part of the breakdown of disc golf. Is you have 2 options on a Saturday morning. Go play around with your friends, or go play a tournament all day. And if you play a tournament, the advantage of playing a tournament is that you experience competition at a higher level than with your friends. But that simply is not true unless you're in a top level, unless you're an MA1, right? None of that is true unless you're an MA1 or maybe MA2 sometimes, whatever, or MPO, obviously. Why doesn't it work? Why do team-based things work so well, but this doesn't work? Here's my logic. We already know, a bunch of people have been saying this lately, but we know that it appears most disc golfers actually have never competed in a sport before disc golf. They might not understand it in this level. Most disc golfers have never competed in a sport. And so they may have never experienced competition. Add that on to the fact that a full team can have competition because you can find some way to be good for your team in some game. Maybe you stink at spiking the ball, but you can set really well in volleyball. In disc golf, you kind of just have to do it all. maybe in, I don't know, uh, maybe you really sink at anything physical, but you're really good like strategy. You're seeing where there's holes in the other team, and you're like, hey, our big strikers, let's take advantage of this. Disc golf, that doesn't happen like that. There's no real way for that to happen like that unless it's a team-based experience, like a team challenge, which is becoming more popular. Kind of the best of both worlds, in my opinion. But I think that's why that we see tournaments that went from instantly filling to you're 5 days away and you can still get in. I think that combination of people who have never done anything competitive before and now play disc golf are content to kind of get a little bit of a rating, get 2 discs, leave this place, whatever. I think it's a breakdown of that stuff. There are people who, by extension, get really competitive. They used to be competitive in high school. Now they're in their 30s. Hey, they still want to play disc golf, and that's their thing. They want to be competitive disc golf. Okay, they're going to go to a tournament. They don't experience that either, so they're not going to come back. They're more competitive with their friends on a Saturday morning. I think there's something to that. I don't know what it is. It's kind of a rant, but just a little note. I'm seeing it this year more than last year, but tournaments aren't filling up as fast. The same people are playing disc golf in the area. I know. I can see on Facebook. They're attending tag leagues, but they're not playing tournaments. You have to offer something really high value a lot of times to get people out. Our best performing C tier was the C tier I was a part of last year, and we were offering a significant value. I think you're paying $45 for 3 MVP discs plus a player payout. That's a significant value. If you can't provide that, gone are the days of like, a disc or 2, whatever. Or it has to be worth it to get that rated round in, something along those lines. But I think there's something to be said there. I would be interested more in how golf does this. I hate to be the golf guy, but if the golf has figured out how to make tournaments work on a local level, that could help. How did it work for them? How can it work for us? How can we be competitive but understand that the vast majority of your players fit into MA4 or MA3? The specific example I was saying, right? The easy fix for that is just like the Pro Tour, where you're placed card-wise is entirely dependent on how you play, and then if a break is needed, your PDGA number. I don't want to force tournament directors to do that. There's no flexibility in that. But that's just interesting. Just a note. I just want to throw it in your heads. Just think about it. How can we improve tournaments other than making payout better when we're in a down year for disc golf? Because it's tough to do both, right? Maybe payout is better, but you got to do more work. Maybe it's tough to be better. The rated rounds on like a disc aren't enough anymore. That's my note there. All right, whatever. It's a rant. Last thing for the night. What are we at, Wise? That was the last little yap. I don't know how long we've been live. Okay, we've been live for 1 hour and 7 minutes. So we're about done. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's talk about my bag right now. I guess. I'm a bag nerd. If you're a disc nerd, I'm a disc nerd. I want to talk about disc unbagging and stuff that's changing. Because I'm going into my first tournament. I said all that about tournaments to say I'm playing a lot of tournaments this year. Spoiler alert. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm more involved in my local club this year, and I want to understand what makes players want to come out. And hopefully I learned that this year. But let's talk about some discs I am throwing and bagging this year. Who are we rating? Good question, Gary. Who's live? Who's live? Okay. In my bag currently, we have to ignore my mess of discs and my mess of boxes. I'm moving in like a month. Putting with Rainmakers. These are Flex, Softest Flex, Glow. A glow putter is the best thing you can do. This disc does not glow at all. It barely works for a glow. But that glow almost always provides like another little bit of grip regardless of the plastic type. So a glow putter is something, I've been put onto these, but this pair especially, just grip all the time. Doesn't really matter the weather conditions. They are getting softer as we're getting into spring, so these guys are probably leaving soon. But just a note there. For my throwing putters, I have 3 traditional throwing putters. I have a Luna, Paul Macbeth, Z-Swirl Luna. These are great. I don't think they're particularly overstable, to be honest with you. I was told by Austin Turner that certain ones are. I don't really care. I'm not looking for a super overstable Luna. So I got this Luna. It's been beat up. It's just great. Glidey, goes straight. Like, probably the best disc in my bag right now. This is an exact duplicate. This is a confetti Luna. This, they also claimed, was like the overstable Luna. There was people, Iceberg TV was claiming it. It is shaped a little different. I can't even really tell. It's tough to tell, but like, it is got a little bit more dome almost to it on a glidey disc. I don't know that it's that much more overstable. These 2 Lunas are identical. They do the exact same crap. I just carry 2 because I have space in my bag, and I love throwing Lunas. They're my favorite thing in the world to throw. Okay, PA5. If you do not have a flippy throwing putter, the PA5 is the best in period, like that I found so far. I spent a lot of time trying to make a flipping throwing putter. I bought a baseline Luna to beat up, started beating that up, lost it before I could get to flippy. I had a baseline Marvel that got beat up, lost it, right? But essentially, like, every one of these straight discs I bought to beat up to be flippy, I spent a couple weeks beating up and then lost it for some reason. Mainly because I was going on a lot of trips at the time. But like, by the time it got to beat up and perfect, I was like, oh, awesome. Now it gets really scary to lose it. PA5 out of the box, like, very flippy. This is a 750 older PA5. No chalk, nothing. Feels amazing. Flies amazing. Looking for a backup. I have like another PA5, but I would love if Mac would do a special run of PA5s. That'd be really nice. Okay. I have 2 discs I'm going to talk back to back about. Discraft Sled. Great disc. There's no reason for this to be in my bag. It's just fun. It has a thumb track. It feels good on forehand. I like it on backhand. I don't really care. One would argue it goes very similar to my Luna. I would agree. There's my note. Other note, Discraft Zone SS. This is a crystal sparkle. It is puddle top. It is really good. What is the difference between these 2 discs? I don't think there's anything. I've got space in my bag so I can carry them both. But they literally don't change, right? I'll probably just commit to one for the tournament and only throw that one for the tournament. Either is fine. I have people who are arguing that the Zone SS and the Sled are identical. I have people arguing that they're totally different. I'm probably going to make a reel about it. Who knows? Follow my Instagram, matthew.markdg. I'm actually going to post stuff this year, I swear. All right, next on the shopping, or on the block here, everyone needs an overstable approach disc. Take your pick. This is a Star Toro. I typically am like a Z-Zone guy or a Chicane when I was on Finish Line. You just need something. I got a stack of these off of Innova's factory store. I have a pair of these blue ones and a pair of red ones that are puddle top and Star. I wanted Star for the winter. I don't know. It's fine. The Toro, I thought was a Zone. It isn't quite. It's a little bit less glidey. It just goes a little, it falls a little faster. It's given me some added confidence. The right beat up Zone can go pretty far. But this could be a Zone next week. This could be a Chicane next week. It doesn't matter. Okay. That's all my approach stuff. You may say, Matthew, that's a lot of approach stuff. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm throwing right now. I think the more you can throw with like throwing putters, the better you'll be at the game. And so that has been my focus. So a lot of field work with throwing putters and stuff like that. And there's been some fun discs. I also we have a ton of short courses in our area. So I can throw like the majority of this lineup for everything. Although the tournament I'm playing is on a pretty long course. I'm going to need every style of disc. Let's go to my mids. And also, I'm carrying an AX6 right now. This is my bag. It's given me the opportunity to carry a lot of discs. And now I was just doing it for fun for the off season. Now I'm slimming down to be like realistic here. All right. In my mids, we have an uplink from MVP. This thing I bought years ago. It is so flippy. but it's still kind of awesome. Throw it on hyzer, pops up to flat. I did a lot of form stuff where like I'm actually a hyzer thrower now. Like that's kind of the thing I do. So this disc is like so fun in the woods and stuff like that to throw it and flip up, or if I just throw it flat and just it's a great disc. Prodigy M5. I'm becoming addicted to Prodigy. You're gonna find that through my bag. I like a lot of Prodigy stuff, and I'm only liking more stuff better. You can get it cheaper because people don't care about Prodigy as much, and I think that's not good because it's really good stuff. This M5 is actually a little more beat up than I thought. This guy is a throw it on a little bit of hyzer, and it's going to pop up to flat. That's the goal of an M5. Let's talk about something in my bag that we're going to start seeing. I am a player who loves having two of the same discs, the Lunas, like for instance, but it doesn't really make sense to carry backups, two of the same discs. So what I love to do is I love to find a disc that will go straight when I throw it flat. I love to find a disc that will flip up to flat when I throw it on hyzer. And I love to pair them together because then they're not the same slot, but they could be backups for each other in the worst situation. That is M5, flip up to flat, throw it flat, get us some turn out of it, and this buzz. I've never been a buzz guy before, but I kind of love Z-Swirl, and I've been throwing this, and this buzz is, very typical buzz. If I throw it straight, it's going to have a little bit of fade, but that also means that I can like do panning to flat and hyzers, stuff like that with this buzz. There's really specific situations. I'm not really throwing this a lot right now because it's, white in the snow, but you just need something that can like fight a little bit of wind. These Z-Swirl ones I've also been told are more overstable than a typical buzz. I've never thrown a typical. I literally have not. I've thrown one buzz that I gave to Tyler after 2 throws because I wasn't feeling it, and he lost. So that's my buzz. Note there. Okay, so I was throwing the Ultra from Birdie. Here's the issue with the Ultra. Birdie might be dead. I don't know. They haven't posted anything in a while. Don't really know what's going on with Birdie. They said they'll be back at some point. And it was already hard to find runs of the Ultra. They had like 2 runs of Color Glow, and then they had an Infinity Ultra. So I started looking for overstable mids to replace the Ultra, and then I could like get a consistent amount of. I could just get a stack of if I wanted. And everyone was hyping up the Quake. I was watching Austin Turner throw the Quake, Sully throw the Quake, Broad throw the Quake. Everyone's hyping up the Quake. I buy a Quake at Disc East. This is a throw down the mountain Quake. It is some kind of like, I think it's just the Spark plastic or SP Sparkle plastic is what they call it. It has some dome. I don't know if that's clear. Not a ton, but some dome. This thing is interesting. The Ultra is board flat, by the way. If you've never thrown the Ultra, it's board flat. It's very overstable. This actually has some glide. It's overstable and glidey. That was not what I was looking for, but it was so good that for now it's in the bag. The next step up is someone in our Discord told me to buy a Noah, don't know his can't pronounce his last name, Quake. This is a board flat Quake, like puddle top Quake. So overstable, no glide. Like these are, at the moment, from my current testing, which I haven't tested them a ton, these are almost different discs. This is like MD5 levels, and this is a glidey, overstable mid. I don't think I really want both of them, but I have space in the bag, and I haven't done enough testing to get one out. So that guy's gone. They're both in there for now. Okay, let's cruise through some of this stuff because I want to not be cooking for too much longer here. Fairways. Fairways. The Diamond from Lat 64. This is like Ultra Hyzer flip to turn fairway. This is the first disc that I like truly got a little bit of distance out of. It is transition now. This is I say first disc. I bought this specific one in May, but like it's transition to Hyzer flip, turner, a roller if you really need to, but I don't really like throwing rollers. Or really soft flights and still getting like a full fairway distance out of it. Things I don't like about this disc, it's 155. I'd love for my flippy fairway to be more more of a max weight disc. But whatever, I can't really, the diamond has treated me too well too long. I would love to get rid of this, maybe do a function, but for now it's in there. I know it too well. If like I get tired or something like that, I can just start throwing that disc on hyzer and letting it pop up. Next in the list, we have a chemtrail. Everyone in my Discord in the Discord is going crazy for these chemtrails. I understand. Now, I bought this from Disc East. I threw it today and solidified that it was going to be my slightly flippy fairway. Once again, throw it on hyzer, flips up to flat, or throw it flat and get some turn. It is, the retina plastic does glow pretty well. This is the glow plastic, I believe. Glows pretty well. I like it. I think this will be good for me. I do. I was throwing a Cicada before. Cicada, this is a thin rim. Cicada is an even thinner rim. And I was kind of just making, it was kind of being like a slightly longer M5 or Buzz. And I kind of wanted it as a distinct category. I was kind of falling out of love with the flippy fairway. So I'm trying to throw this back in. Throw it a couple times today. Really good. Excited to have that in the arsenal. Finally, in the fairway category, I guess in the 7-speed category, I have a Z-Swirl Sagara. I was not lying. I like Z-Swirl. I got a good deal on these. Didn't really expect to throw them. Was going to resell them. Then I threw them and they were awesome. I have never had a disc that is like just stable enough to get some finish consistently, but not like really overstable. And my arm speed is tough to find. This Sagara is that. I love throwing it for like really committed hyzers, and it gets maybe a little bit of flip up through the hyzer, but never flips over. I can throw it flat and just get a little consistent finish, or I can throw it on Annie and get a little pant. Sagara is really nice. The Bokeh is very similar to it. I could throw the Bokeh. I just not throwing the Bokeh because I don't have a bunch of spares, but everyone else in the Discord has Bokehs because I bought them and shipped them out. Okay. We'll keep going. We're almost done here. Firebird. I had a Firebird, pink Firebird, that I loved. Threw it in the water on hole 18 at Winthrop. Back when I had a bag forehand, I just had to get something really overstable and chop. Right? I was throwing like 200-foot forehands and just chopped as crap. Come back. I threw threw it too hard, too much Annie. It just went right in the water at Winthrop. It was soaking wet. It was raining. We weren't getting it. I gave up. We went to another round. Tyler handed me this. It is a Domi-ish Firebird. Still feels good enough in forehand. And this guy at this point has been in my bag for like 2.5 years. It is a Sexton almost. It is maybe even like less stable than a Sexton. But my forehand's gotten better, so I don't really need that chop shot as much anymore. So this is all I need. I just need one Firebird to kind of keep it together. Okay. 9 speeds. I do not need 9 speeds, right? I don't throw far enough to see a significant difference between my 7 speeds, my 9 speeds, and my 11 speeds. The reason I want to throw 9 speeds is I don't want to throw distance drivers. So I'm trying to pick like 9 speeds that are a little faster, but consistent flights that I can just like kind of work out for my distance drivers. I hate distance drivers. Half the time I throw them and they're flippy. Half the time I throw them and they're super overstable. That's not it. So first one is this H7. It's a 9.5 or 10.5, depending on the run. Hyzer flip to turn, very fun disc, pretty domey, right? Kind of a longer diamond. I don't throw it a ton at this point. If I'm throwing like tired, I just start throwing H7s and diamonds all over the place. That's how it goes. 2 discs are competing for the same slot. The Insanity. This is a particle proton max weight Insanity. And a 170 iBlend Sphinx. These were both competing. I know the answer. This Insanity is so good. I'd never understood the Insanity. I got 2 Insanities that were like board flat. And guess what? They were both like super overstable. They felt like a Firebird. And they were like, no, bro, you just got the wrong Insanity. And then I found this at Tree Magnets while I was there a couple months ago. And they were right. I did find the wrong Insanity. $13 particle proton, factory second Insanity. This thing is what I'm looking for. A do-it-all 9-speed. Throw it flat, gets a little turn, fade. Throw it on hyzer, pops up a little. I can throw it on Annie, and it literally just pans, a long way. This is great. I threw like such good shots with it. I think this is the hack that I'm looking for. I threw my Chemtrail and my Insanity today on a par 4. My Insanity was a far worse shot, but it was because it was a 9-speed and I got the right, speed out of it. It just went 30, 40 feet farther than my 7-speed. It was a little bit more set up. The Chemtrail was maybe a little bit more turned over, but perfect positioning, exactly what I wanted. So this is going in the bag. This is also great, a little bit flippier, but this is good. I'm just going to commit to this right now and be done with it because I need to commit to my bag at this point. Like I have to play enough rounds to get out of here or to be ready for this stuff. Finally, we're almost done. Distance drivers. As I said, I don't like distance drivers. I would like to throw distance drivers. However, distance drivers just go further. If you have, if your tech disc stats, you have a good nose angle, you have a good launch angle, you have a relatively fine spin, you have relatively fine speed, even if it's a low end, if your launch angle and nose angle are correct, distance drivers will just carry further. They might be more overstable, but they just will carry further. Their rims are thicker. They push through the wind better. That's my place with distance drivers. I currently carry 4 distance drivers. 2 are on test. Prodigy H6, this is really flippy. I think too flippy. Because even on a bad flight, I get flip up out of it. And that worries me because one good flight is going to make this thing roll. So I don't know. That one's probably gone. This is an MVP orbital. This is also really flippy, but it's consistently like that. A little bit better. I can throw this on hyzer at my arm speed, throw it smooth, and kind of just know it's going to go far on a hyzer. Or I can throw it flat and know it's going to get a bunch of turn. This is my flippy distance driver when I have to throw it. The tournament I'm about to play, Snowy Eagle, there's an off the top of the world shot, 700 feet downhill, or maybe it's 800 feet downhill. Whatever. You can't really get there in one shot. You would have to throw it legitimately a 500-foot drive. So I guess you could, but I just have to have a distance driver. I can't walk up to that hole because, frankly, if I do not chop off a minimum 350, I'm going to have a bad time on that hole. So I threw this last time I was there. Did exactly that. Threw 350, 375. Threw another shot up closer to the basket. Threw a final shot to the basket and had a putt for par. That's all I want out of that hole, right? A little more distance, and I would have to start actually competing on that hole. And, right, technically I could go 350, 350 and have a 100-footer. But whatever. I need this. It has to exist. It's in the bag. Like I said, I'd love it for it to be gone. I have 2 other distance drivers I care about. The first isn't even a distance driver. It is the Era from Finish Line Discs. I got this when I was on the team. They don't even have a team anymore. The Era is a 10-speed, but I kind of think of it as it's a straight 10-speed, a little flippy actually. But at my arm speed, I kind of think of it as a PD or my PD. By that, I mean I throw it flat. I know it's going to get a little bit of finish. Right. Kind of really consistently that. So it's not quite a full-on distance driver, but I kind of consider it my distance driver. This thing is really, really good. It's probably never going to leave my bag. I have a stack of these red ones, and there's 2 kinds of Eras you'll find. You'll find smooth domed Eras like this, or you'll find Eras that kind of get a little bit of a divot down. The difference with that tiny amount of dome is literally 30 feet. These smooth dome ones go farther with the exact same flight pattern as the other Eras. It's very weird. I was throwing these and just throwing them and throwing them and throwing them. This whole stack of red Eras, or this whole stack of other Eras, and this one just kept being the farthest. It's the exact same weight. Everything else is the same. I kind of consider this my comfort disc, even though I don't even throw it that much, right? Because I don't want to throw this stuff. This is going to be my bag probably forever until I run out of arrows, or I find something else, right? If my arm speed magically, I'm doing things to get better and throw faster, but if my arm speed magically one day was not making this, this was fully hyzer flipping, then yeah, it's probably going to come out of the bag, or it's just my hyzer flip fairway or distance driver, but for now it's in there. Final disc in the bag. The Proline Wraith. A Pro Wraith is the best thing on planet Earth for an AM. It is domey. It is very well, like very obvious that it is a distance driver. By that I mean like a lot of times you'll see pros when they pick out their distance drivers, they they're looking for gyro, even if they're not saying it. They're looking for a thin flight plate and a thick rim because that should mean more weights on the outside. That's gyro, right? So naturally, in some runs of distance drivers with some plastic, that happens. And based on conversation with Nick Crush, based on conversation with other people, it seems to happen a lot in pro. The flight plate's like super thin compared to the rest of the disc. So he's throwing pro bosses. I'm throwing pro rates. This is kind of my like consistent forehand. It's just the first disc I ever like worked in forehand. It's pretty flippy. It's a Wraith, but it's not super. It's a little flippy here. It's the first disc I ever threw I'm like good at forehand with. I call it the silly putty Wraith. It's 166. I like it. I don't know. Personally, I'm a fan of it. I'll always have a Wraith in. You kind of need to have that overstable distance driver, slightly overstable distance driver. I'm never going to need it like a freaking PD2. It's not going to happen. I don't need it. But this is enough to get the job done and do what I need. So, okay. A lot of yapping. That was all my discs. Nothing else to note really in the bag. I carry a Grip AX6 for one purpose. It has really good back padding. I like this. I have a Squatch bag. A Grip bag is heavier. Here's the difference. A Squatch bag is so small, you kind of can throw it off and on, but when it's on, it doesn't really do that much more for support. Grip, on the other hand, it's kind of like it's a station. You pick it up, and now it's got more padding on the back, on the shoulders, on the back. You're like, this is a more heavy bag. It's heavier by like a pound, but it's way more support. And then you just set it down, and you understand you're not like picking it up, dropping it. You're kind of just set it down by the T-pad, or set it down by the basket, pick up all your other discs. Given that, I like the AX6. My only note is I would not be using the AX6. I would be using the BX3. I was under the false impression that AX6s were the only one with a new back padding and the only one with the new straps. So I bought the AX6 because I wanted that. That was like the whole reason I was going to Grip. It means I have more disc space. I would love to buy a BX3 and carry a BX3 instead. But I don't really, just because I don't need that much space. But AX6's side compartments are really nice. With my Grip bag or my Squatch bag, I could fit like little bits of, I could fit a windbreaker in them or stuff like that. With a Grip bag, I can literally fit an entire jacket, right? I could unzip the side and jam another pair of shoes in it if I wanted. It's that good. So I don't know. I'm using Grip for now. Like I said, I'd love to be in a BX3 instead. So if you have one and you want to sell me one, let me know. Matt Marsh DG. But that is my note. That's my in the bag. This is a long episode. I was kind of had some stuff to rant about, and I thought it was fun to do that rather than not do an episode. Obviously in the future, Gary mentioned like I'd probably have Gary on with me, or even if it was just me and Tyler. Here's the goal. Here's where we're at with the podcast. Everyone's busy, and it makes it tough to do this stuff, but we want to do it. We want to have fun with it. But like their game show episodes can only really happen when we have like 4 people. Making a full game show for 2 guys and one of them knows the answers doesn't really work very well. So pairing in these off-week episodes helps, and then we're going to actually be assembling like guests and stuff to be on our game show episodes as well. So it should be fun. But I don't know. Thanks for listening in and talking. Anyone have any final notes for the night, or are we good to leave this place? If you haven't, or you're not in our Discord, you should be in our Discord. Our Discord is a lot of fun. You should also be in our snake draft. Try and sneak in. Snake draft is a draft of discs that we'll then do a weekly tag league. I think for a 3-month period. Tyler's the commissioner of this thing. I think it's $10 to get in just to have some money on the line. Dad's going to call with notes in a second. I'm not answering that call, bro. I'm not answering that call. But I appreciate it. You can send me your note, text me your notes. But hop in that. Otherwise, I don't know. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, matthew.marsh.dg. I'm going to actually post content this year because I think that's important. And I've neglected my Instagram in the last couple of years. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the Discord.